Welcome to Magical Moments, for that ease and that betterment in your life that we all want and deserve. And I am your host, Alena Chapman. I got a magical nugget for you today, a little one that I think you'll like. You know, in the so-called mindset, self-improvement, spiritual, you name it world, we talk about Wu Wei. You're saying, what? What is Wu Wei? Okay, it is, now you always hear people say, it's no action. And Lao Tzu wrote a book called The Tao, way back when Confucius and Plato were around. They're all contemporaries. That's the period, right before all the Asian wars. But Wu Wei does not transform to, because I have people come up to me all the time and saying, well, I'm just visualizing and it's all going to come. Yeah. Well, anyway, no, it's not no action. We cannot sit on our couches and eat bonbons or popcorn. We need to start walking. So what does Wu Wei really mean? Wu Wei actually transforms or translates into no force. That's quite a difference, guys. What does that mean? No force. No force means that we are going through the actions, and what we have is that we have surrendered or built our trust and surrendered it to the universe. It's like we are the river, water. And today I was, actually this past week I was in Chattanooga, and they've got that beautiful big river. My gosh, to stand by that river. And yet it's moving so slowly without effort. And yet it's so strong and steady and powerful, just going through its motions. It's not stressed. It's not raging. It's just strong. And that's what we need to do when we're going for any sort of goal or dream, or we want to become something, more than what we want to be right at this moment. Maybe we want to be someone who's on the stage. Maybe we want to be somebody who discovers the medicine for cancer. Maybe we want to be these incredible people, but we're not there yet. And we tend to force it. But if we can learn to flow like that river, and here's the thing in Wu Wei that's really cool. The more we visualize, the more we walk the walk, the more we pretend we are actually going there, then opportunity starts to enter into our world naturally. All of a sudden, that river is turning into a waterfall. Now, you take the opportunity, you spring into action, knowing that you are the goal, you got this, not with anxiety and worry and doubt and fumbling all over, but just like the river going right into the water flow. There is no force. There is no strife. There is no anxiety. Trust. Trust yourself, trust your faith, and trust spirit. Kind of cool. That is Wu Wei. Now, today, we have an incredible guest. She is how can I say it? She's walked the walk, she's done the work, and she has become, oh my gosh, Wu Wei, right? Here we go. So I know Carrie. Carrie is a friend of a friend, and she's worked with us for a little while. Carrie Severson is an author and the Chief Executive Officer of the Unapologetic Voice House, a hybrid book publishing business. She's been in the storytelling industry for nearly 25 years. She started the Unapologetic Voice House in 2019 after spending years pitching literary agents in the hope of being published traditionally. Very hard to do, by the way. All her rejection letters from literary agents came down to the same thing. They all loved the work. They all compared the well-known to other well-known authors, but because she didn't have a big enough platform, agents always passed up on her. Now, I get this because this is what happened to me. Carrie used that pivot in her life and launched a company that could help women just like her, unapologetic in their stories with massive followings. She's also married to her best friend and on her next soul quest to become the next version of herself. Don't you love that bio? I love that. Hey, Carrie, how are you?
Hi, thank you.
So you have gone the journey and you have done the work. Now, yeah, yeah, I know. But we've got to talk about this so-called work. You know what I mean? This is big because people do not, they don't think that like that. They don't think working on ourselves is work, but really it's the biggest work we have of all. Without going into too much detail, start telling them how you got started. How did you say, hey, you know what? I gotta be enough. When did you come to that realization?
After I would say I burned out professionally, I always felt this void in my life. Even when I was a kid, I always knew that like I was meant to do something different than I was doing right then. I never really knew how to just be in the present and enjoy the moment. So I was always chasing something, whether it be approval from somebody else, a new friend, the next designer, whatever. When I got to college, a different dress size because I was curvier than other girls. I was always looking for the next thing that would, maybe this would make me feel complete. Maybe this would make me feel better.
Yeah. If I just reach that star, if I just reach this star, little goals. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was always chasing something. And I became an entrepreneur in 2011. I launched a nonprofit and it sort of blew up overnight into a national organization. I was, flying around the country and serving after school programs all over the place. And
I've heard of that. Yeah, very good.
I started chasing money and approval and professional accolades and TV segments and speaking gigs and those things really burned me out. And I think the pressure of not being enough to get the thing that I really wanted created such a force, really did put so much, it's like sucked my soul dry, honestly. Yeah.
You don't feel like you're enough.
So,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's hard.
And then,
very hard.
If it was 2013, maybe I probably just was like, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I have to change. And so I took a 8-week hiatus from my position, transferred all my work over to the board of directors. And I just started digging in, and I had done enough personal development work, and I'd been on my own spiritual journey for long enough to know that I had to do the work. I had to actually look internally and figure out why was I manifesting these things and not those things.
That is important because most of us don't do that. I see so many people who they get to that place where they just see that where they want to be is so far off and they're striving and they have that. That's why I talked about the Wu Wei, but they blame it all on themselves. And instead of saying, wait, I need to do the work, they actually put themselves down. They say, they say, I'm not worth it. I'm not what it takes. My mom always told me I wasn't this. Do you see when they punish themselves?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's, so I started doing, I really changed behaviors. I put myself first. I put boundaries up. I put time limits on my work, and I started playing again. And I started feeling, putting things back into my life that made me feel happy. So for me, that concept of happiness, that freedom of feeling at home in my body, was what I was missing when I was just running myself ragged, working around the clock, literally some days 18 hours.
You broke the rhythm.
And when I started,
You know what I mean?
When I started playing again. Yeah, absolutely. I was totally in it, like in your river in Chattanooga and flowing. I did that. I would literally stand next to rivers
Yeah.
and face the direction that it was flowing down from, and I would picture ease coming to me. And that was part of my healing. I did that.
Yeah, that's good. See, I know I did too. That's where I got the story. That water's powerful, and it is that ease. So when you decided when you burnt out, I mean, I like your book. I was reading it.
Thank you.
And it just, it's very relatable. And I love this, when you were saying, you just left. You really took the time. And that's important. When we're burnt out, we're no benefit to anyone. You got to listen to yourself. You got to listen. You got to say, wait a minute, this isn't working. I'm not me. I don't feel good. I've got to leave. I got to take time. That's the first big step. But how long were you in this burnout phase? How long did you take to discover yourself? Give people an idea.
Well, I had the benefit. I didn't have children. I was single, so I took 2 solid months to focus on me, and I had the benefit of having a supportive environment where I could do that. And when I came back to work, I changed our business model, so I was no longer in the center of it. So when I did that, I was able to put boundaries up and really actually implement the things that I discovered in that 2-month break. But really, like, moving myself out of burnout was more of like a 9-month process where it's such an easy thing to slip back into. Like, we get emails at 5 o'clock that we really want to answer, and suddenly we're still at the office at like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
That workaholic mentality is really easy to fall back into.
I know, that's me.
Or sitting on the couch with our kids or our husband. We don't like what we're watching. We don't like what we're doing. And so we pick up our phone. We're like, oh, what happened here?
Yes.
I had to put like strong boundaries in place. And that took practice because it wasn't like a muscle I was used to. I had no idea what a boundary was until I forced myself to create it. So it really was a longer process than 2 months, but the 2-month break helped me get clear enough to recognize I had to make changes.
So what were some of the things you did? Let's share it with the audience when you were on your 2-month, because you didn't just sit on the couch eating potato chips. You didn't just watch old movies. What did you do?
No, I actually, I meditated again. I actually would sit outside, but I would watch, I'd watch like clouds go by, and I would practice being still because I didn't know how to do that anymore. I went for long walks, and I journaled a lot. And when I journaled, I brought journals with me that I'd already finished, and I went back and I reviewed old entries to kind of get a sense of who I was in this space and how I could have compassion for an older version of myself and really heal old pieces to help me move forward. And what I honestly did was, in my meditations, I would feel into, I call them like emotional flavors. I would take a deep breath. I would picture some emotion coming up to the surface, and I would feel it and really examine it. What was this? Was I angry? Was I resentful? Was I hurt? And I would examine it, and why do I feel this way? And then I would list out all the reasons. And so that's really how I started to break the ice or the wall that I built up, was examining how I felt the way I did, why I felt the way I did, and what was the opposite side of that. If I no longer wanted to feel angry, what was the opposite of that?
What do I want to feel?
It always came back down to peace and ease and happiness, right? Those were the elements I really wanted to feel.
It's really funny because as you're talking, I'm thinking, I don't know, I have a hard head or something. The universe always has to hit me over the head. And I remember I was burnt out. I was doing a lot of mindset traveling all over the United States, but I wasn't happy and things were not going as fast as I wanted them to go. And I was working 24/7. I mean, I was really on this mission. It was really hard. And the universe tricked me. It did. I was supposed to go down to this seminar in Florida. I thought I put it in the calendar right. I made the plans. I went down there, and it wasn't even the right place. It's like I entered a twilight zone. I entered into this small town in Florida that had like nothing except a couple restaurants and guitars and a coffee shop. That's it. And the universe said, "You're going to go raw, Alena." And then I called and I said, "Well, where is everybody?" She said, "Well, that's not till next month." I thought, how did I screw this up? And it wasn't even in that town. How did I? It was the universe. And I sat there and I did what you did. I went down to the seashore and I looked at the ocean and I just thought, oh my God, I'm really bad. I need to stop. I need to stop. There's stuff in me that I'm angry about. There's stuff that I'm not pleased. I started to journal like you. I do what I call spirit writing. And I wrote down, why do I feel so frustrated? And what you do with that is you start writing and everything's conscious. But then all of a sudden you start writing really silly things. And then before you come out, everything really comes out, and then you can examine it. And half the time when you're done, you don't remember what you did because you're like writing from subconscious, and you come back and you look at it and you can then say, wow, okay, let's look at this. Yeah. So I did what you did. Yeah. When you get burnt out, you gotta stop and do the work to look inside. So after I'm sorry. No. Go ahead.
I was going to say, it's like, it was easier for me because I had the support team and I didn't have kids and I wasn't married at the time. But these days, the women that I talk to who are burnt out for a variety of reasons. But coming through COVID and like the moms who had to, work from home and handle the virtual learning and handle everything else. Like so many women these days are burnt out.
Yes.
And it is a little bit harder when you're in that scenario. But carving out space in your day to work on you and go internal is it's part of the medicine in order to move out of that space. It really is a necessity.
You have to because you get caught up into the label of being a mom. And that's what happened during COVID. Everyone is trying to be the perfect mom or the perfect dad, the perfect family, and then you find out, well, God, who is this man I married? They found out it was really hard, but they're trying to, and then being, okay, my kid has to succeed. I'm the fault my kid's not succeeding now. I don't know this math. We just beat ourselves up. That's part of the labeling process, which then, of course, makes us feel like we're not enough. And it's hard. It's really hard. Yeah. We need to stop. So but then, you really moved into saying, wait a minute, I'm enough. And that's a big, huge step. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that? What being enough, what does that mean to you?
Well, it is no longer accepting outside opinions of who I am and how I react to the world around me and how I show up. It is feeling confident and comfortable in my body, in my actions, and who I choose to be that day, and know that I am whole, perfect, and complete without anyone else's say-so. And to hear other people tell you this is, you are whole, perfect, and complete as you are, is so hard for so many women to accept and download.
Yeah.
And honestly, the only way that I personally got there is by learning how to love myself at a cellular level. And that took years after my burnout experience.
Yeah.
Actually,
you need to explain that, the cellular level. You know what I mean? I know what you mean, but share that with people because that's very big. It's not. The reason why I'm saying that is because I ran into somebody just this past weekend. I was talking to her, and she said, "I guess I've got to start loving myself." And I said, "Well, what does that mean to you?" Because I usually ask questions. They search, and she said, "Well, I like my body. I like this." See, no. And I said, but hon, there's so much more. There's so much more. And so explain what the cellular level is.
Well, for me, first, it started with liking myself again. And like,
No, that's
so
big.
I made a happy list, and I listed out like 10 things that I knew would make me happy. And it
Ah,
started with things like, playing with glitter, going to a dance studio, getting to the ocean because I live in the desert, getting to the ocean, little things that
yeah,
were outside the norm of your typical self-care.
yeah.
And when I started to do that, and I started to just be comfortable, being myself again, coming back home to myself again, it gave me the freedom to be able to move forward and start expressing myself. And then, taking one step forward and being comfortable and confident in with my body. So it is like it's a ladder we kind of go on. When I got to the point where I fast forward, I actually put myself through rounds of IVF because I was getting in my late 30s. I wanted to explore the opportunity to preserve my fertility and give myself the chance to have children
If you wanted to.
I never met. Yeah, if I wanted. I put myself through 2 rounds of IVF, and both those rounds failed, and I ended up bedridden.
I'm so
Which was
sorry.
very painful.
Oh, I'm
It
so
was a very
sorry.
painful experience, but thank you. Yeah, it was pretty awful. And I do write about that in the book, but
Yeah.
the reason I was able to get to a point of loving myself at a cellular level is because I legitimately was bedridden, and the only thing that really worked without pain were like my eyeballs and my brain. And so there were days where I literally just sort of pictured myself going through my body in my mind's eye and like kissing every cell in my body and telling my body that it was okay. I was enough as I was. Everything's okay. I love myself, and every decision that I made led to that point in my life, and I had to be okay with it because I did it. Those were
Yeah.
decisions I made. I had to forgive myself. I had to love myself in order to heal myself. That was where I was at.
And
So there
and the
were,
the thing is, I know when people first start this, it's hard. It's hard. It's hard in the very beginning when you are kissing every cell and you're trying to love yourself because that critic comes in, that thing that punishes you. You got to kind of get through that. You really do. You have to keep
it is
doing
like
it.
a wall. Yeah.
I'm sorry?
It is like a wall. It
It
is like
is.
hard. It doesn't happen overnight. So
No.
like, I write about this in my book. There were days where I was bedridden. There were days that it took me like 30 minutes to walk a mile, but there was this. I sat next to a lake because there was a body of water is really good for the Wu Wei, for like
Uh-huh.
being in the flow and accepting that element in my life is very important.
Yes.
So there was a bench next to this beautiful pond not far from my house, and I would go and I would sit and I would picture tree roots coming out of my feet and sunshine coming through the top of my head. And again, it was like
Healing.
champagne bubbles were coming through my whole body and like giving my body like a cellular.
Regeneration.
Yes, it was just like just a big sigh of relief. And I did
Very
that over
nice.
and over and over again until I could sincerely feel at home in my body, know that like I'm so in love with who I am that nothing can tell me otherwise. And, it wasn't just like, I like how I look today. It was like, man, even if I don't like how I look today, I love myself regardless.
That's
That was,
cool.
that,
Yeah, that's where we
that's the
need to
time.
be.
Yeah.
How can people find out more about you?
My book is called Unapologetically Enough, and that's the website, unapologeticallyenough.com. Come on over, send me a note, check me out. I would love to hear from you.
I think that'd be so cool. And for everyone out there, we need to start feeling good about ourselves because I'm telling you, the more we love ourselves, oh my gosh, spirit can flood us with the beauty of this world, the opportunities, the joy. But if we don't love ourselves, we are not the vessel that the spirit can come in because we put blocks. So it's a
Yep.
wonderful first step and so important. Check me out on YouTube, Alena Chapman. I'm doing a lot of videos on this, also on TikTok. You can always send me messages on the YouTube or on TikTok or on Instagram or on Facebook. It's all Alena. And we're all about that wisdom, that soul wisdom, and your growth and your evolution. So, guys, take those first steps. You deserve to feel good about yourself. Namaste.